and make sure that it stays below the level of, I will make sure that it stays below the level of the liquid. So I had a bunch of people ask me after I posted about having fermented zucchini how I ferment it, and I thought I would show you today. I had never thought of fermented zucchini as a thing that I ever wanted before until I started this thing called the homegrown year, where I'm trying to live off of what we produce here on our little farm just north of Denver, Colorado for an entire year. And I have a lot of zucchini. Like so much zucchini, and so I'm trying it basically in every possible way that you can eat zucchini. And at our house we have a lot of different ways to preserve things. We have a dehydrator, we can things, we have a pressure canner, we make jerky. We also went so far as to buy a freeze dryer. But fermentation is one of the earliest ways to preserve food, and I was reading on the internet, really kind of perfected the way that I like to make fermented zucchini, so I just wanted to share it with you guys today. Literally, this is just one day of zucchini that we are putting together right now. I went through many zucchini fermentation failures before I figured out what works for me, and I read a lot of articles about it. There's actually not that much out there, but what I use is just 2 ingredients, zucchini and non-iodized sea salt, and that's it. And one of the things I'd read said you put a layer of zucchini and then a layer of salt and then a layer of zucchini and a layer of salt. What I found is really effective is to just salt zucchini in a big bowl, mix it up, make sure that it gets to the salt content that you want, and then start the fermentation process. So unfortunately, zucchini has different water content depending, sorry about the baby by the way, this is our life. But zucchini has different water content, so it's not necessarily gonna be the same way each time. I figured out I just have to do it by taste. Oops, wrong one. I almost opened the big one. That would have been real bad. So I just lightly salt the whole top and start mixing it up by hand until you can see it starts to sweat a little bit. And you can see that salt is starting to work its way in. And then, I mean, all I do is just grab a piece and taste it. And that tastes good to me. I've had a few that were way too salty, and you could tell it was just overwhelming. And you really want to taste the salt flavor, but you don't want it to be too much. But you want to be sure that you can taste it because you don't want it to spoil. Because salt is the preservative that you use in the fermentation process. That's really good. Then the next thing I figured out, because I spoiled another batch of fermented zucchini, is I found these cool things online. They are fermentation weights, and they are glass, and they are designed to turn your wide mouth jars essentially into a fermentation crock. And they're really, really effective. One of the ones I ruined, I had a hard time keeping the zucchini submerged, and that's one of the things that makes it bad. So these things, found them online, not too expensive, great to turn your mason jar into a fermenter. So then you just take the zucchini that is just salted enough so that you know it, but not so salty that it will overwhelm you, and put it in your jar. That's pretty simple. And then I use this handy thing, which back when I could have cocktails, I used to call it a muddler, because I could have fabulous things like cocktails whenever I wanted. And now that I'm doing the homegrown year, I call it a smasher. And just simply press the zucchini down, all the way down into the corners. And you can see it's starting to create even more of its own juice. Then you add some more, smash it down. You can see all that nice zucchini fermentation brine coming up. And so the goal is, over the course of the fermentation process, to keep the fruit, is it a fruit or a vegetable? I don't know. Keep the zucchini below the line of the liquid. So it's always submerged by liquid. And this helps as you're starting to get all the air out and all the bubbles out. So simple. Ah, baby again. Knocking over things. Such is life in a house with a toddler. So you can see almost all of this has liquid. Baby, stop. And that's about as much as I would want to do. I want to leave it kind of below the line so that there's plenty of room at the top. And you can see plenty of liquid at the top as well. And then I just pull out one of these fancy fermentation weights, and I can use it to weight down the zucchini. And so it prevents any of it from getting too much air. Over the course of the next week, bubbles will start to form down where the zucchini is. And as it's fermenting, I will just continuously push this weight down, ensuring that the zucchini stays below the level of the liquid. And then I'll put a top either loosely so that it can breathe, or just a cover over the top of this so that bugs and other stuff can't get in. So this takes about a week for this to happen. And as you can see, it starts to get kind of this more translucent yellow, and it will condense quite a bit over the course of the fermentation process. It's actually really good. I was surprised. I was shocked how much I liked it, but I do. Fermented zucchini, it's a thing you can try. Fermented zucchini, it's a thing you can try. Ah, baby.
Bad baby.